even battleground as we have loaded in successfully to Oceanborn. In the bottom right side, we are looking at the main base of the American Protoss, fighting out of San Diego, California, representing Matcherino Esports. It's Astrea.
In the top left-hand side, our player all the way from China. Let's give it up for Firefly.
Not quite the one gate fast expand that I was thinking about, VODs, but definitely something that we have to address is Astrea is doing something that I can only think of one other high-level Protoss player that's doing it, and that is Strange. Yeah, you were looking at me and thought I was going to talk about myself. No, VODs. I did not consider myself a high-level Protoss player. Strange, obviously a Russian Protoss, is kind of known to do the double gate in base quite often. Other than that, you just don't ever really see it. And the first thing that people think of when you see a start like this is, can Firefly just make 2 adepts and kill all the probes? It's not that simple. If it was that simple, Astrea would obviously never do this. But there is a reason why almost every high-level Protoss player likes to build the pylon and the gates at the ramp. And that's not necessarily the first 2 adepts, but that is the idea of like an 8 adept opening with oracles, because then your life actually becomes hell if you're Astrea. So I find it a bit crazy that Astrea is doing this, but I'm sure he's practiced it time and time again. And I'm very curious to see if Firefly is going to switch up whatever he had in mind, where maybe his idea was to open Stalkers, but after seeing this, what if he wants to go for a bunch of adepts?
Yeah, get those adepts out, start a punish, try and, you know, say it to Astrea, well, show me why I shouldn't, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's such a, when we say it, it's such ingrained in us to be like, okay, you should wall off. Everyone walls off. So why would you not wall off? So, I mean, the benefit of not walling off is you can't lose your gateways if Firefly gets very aggressive with the push early. That's one of the benefits if you're having to survive on one base. But it's a big risk to take because there's so many other opportunities. In this case, Firefly will, though, just go for the Stalkers.
There's also not a tiny benefit, VODs. This is the tiniest of tiny benefits. But hey, at the highest level, every single little bit matters, right? And that is technically a bit more economical to just build your first pylon close to your nexus and then build the first 2 gateways there, because your probe doesn't have to travel from the mineral line to the edge of your main. And that may seem silly, but it does make the tiniest bit of difference.
No, I mean, every little bit helps, like you say. It does add up, and especially a mirror matchup, it can add up even more than usual. As we attempt to recall back, we get a couple sentries on the way from Astrea. Everything points towards him expanding. Firefly is on the same page.
Yep. Interesting opening by Astrea, not just because of the positioning of the first 2 gateways, but also because he went for Adept and a Stalker, and then the follow-up is double Sentry. Now, I'm familiar with a lot of different orders, right? Double Stalker into 4 Stalkers, double Stalker into Stalker Sentry, or even double Stalker into double Sentry. I don't really know this one all that well, Stalker Adept into double Sentry, but I guess this is one of these things that Astrea likes to do a tiny bit different. Firefly has gone for a very quick robo. Now that robo can obviously be used for aggressive purposes, and all-out attack can also just be used to warp into adepts later, drop those adepts in the back of the main, and then potentially kill a couple of workers. Or even what he did against Skillers in the opening match of this group. But I can't imagine that Firefly thinks Astrea hasn't seen those games. 100% Astrea went back to his hotel room yesterday, took a look at those VODs. But in the game 3, the very important game 3 between Firefly and Skillers, he opened up like this. He dropped 2 adepts in the main, and then he had a Dark Shrine to follow it up.
Yep, that Dark Shrine was deadly in that final game of the series, as there is the prison coming up. Pretty much, and essentially, if you're going to open Robo, it's your way of getting on the map, and it's a Dark Shrine on the way from Astrea. So he goes very quickly into that alongside the Blink, but against a Robo, the potential for observers being around is obviously very high. Yeah,
I'd be very sad if I was Astrea if I go for such a quick Dark Shrine. Dark Shrines are not that expensive anymore, but seeing that your opponent already has a very early Robo, that doesn't really bode that well, but you know, not everybody's going to open up double or triple observer. And if Firefly only makes a single observer and he goes to the other side of the map, maybe a DT can sneak into the natural if he's focused on the attack. But as an observer, Mapu is showing us Firefly has a hallucinated Phoenix on top of the Dark Shrine. I love how he's circling around it as well. He's like, Astrea, I'm not thinking that's a pylon, mate. I'm double checking, I'm triple checking. I know, and you know that I know. If I were you, I would cancel it.
He's like, yeah, go on, cancel it, so I don't have to worry about DTs at all for a little while, as these 2 Adepts will attempt to hit a Probosaur, already shading back towards that prison, as the Probos do get a little bit caught up, so there will be a chance to kill him. We're actually going to commit. We're just going to give up these Adepts and get 3. probably at least 4 workers here, so this is working out brilliantly.
5?
Yeah, possible.
Oh,
It's
he shot at the Stalker. He actually fired twice, so he could have had 5. Gonna warp in 2 more adepts. Nice target fire, goes for the probes. Misfired there as he shot at that Stalker. First set of adepts, awesome. Second set of adepts, and not so much. Astrea going up to 3 bases. Firefly going up to 3 bases. Firefly going for a Dark Shrine as well. I mean, they were talking about Clown Fiestas over here, Wadi. Kind of feel that these are at least the perfect ingredients to start off a nice Clown Fiesta.
Oh, absolutely. You start running DTs all over the map. They both have the Dark Shrine ready to go into Shadow Stride whenever they feel like they've got the money. There is a lot of potential for this to get a little bit wacky further down the line. They're both taking a 3rd base, which encourages that kind of setup as well. Now, is this going to be interesting because there is an Immortal here. Astrea just about turned around in time. There was force fields ready to go.
Yep, there were force fields ready, and Blink was 12 seconds away from finishing up. And 12 seconds may not seem like a long time, but if there is an Immortal fire where its Stalk is, I can tell from a place with a lot of experience that 12 seconds is a very long time. You're probably going to end up losing 3 out of 4 Stalkers there. So Astrea actually dodging a bullet, Firefly missing a tiny opportunity.
Yeah, a little opportunity missed, as we do have the Prism still chilling on its bottom side. Obviously, benefit of that is it can just sit there for a good long while and just wait for another chance to try and get Adepts back into the mineral lines, try and find further damage. He's obviously playing catch-up on his own Blink, but yeah, his own Dark Shrine about to be done, and we wait to see. I mean, Astrea's already prepping cannons and everything, so they shouldn't be able to do too much just yet. They're really set up to have a good opportunity in the later stages of a game.
Yep, I love some good old Mass Gate, Zealot, Stalker. A lot of the pros are not very fond of this current meta, where they're like, yeah, it's kind of fun, there's a lot of action, but it's also a little bit brainless, you know? They sometimes just want to feel like a tactician or switch into Disruptors and play that kind of a war, but the Disruptors obviously got nerfed a little bit, and the mobility is just so important in these high-level games. And yeah, pure Zealots with Charge, Stalkers with Blink are incredibly quick. Sometimes players completely skip out on Zealots, because pure Stalker can actually beat Zealot Stalker, but to do that you need to A, make sure there's no Immortals to worry about, and B, ideally you want to be the defender with the Blink Stalker, which sounds weird, but Blink Stalker's defensive linear cannons and batteries are fantastic against Zealots.
No, they really are, as these Stalkers trying to find their way up, but there's just not enough of them, and there's a lot there from Firefly. In fact, he is actually chasing, he's getting a couple of kills. We're going to watch his first person as well, as he chases. And there's actually, sorry, Astrea here on the defense, trying to blink away. He's losing a lot, man. Yep,
and don't forget that Firefly is the one who went Robo first. He's got double Immortal here. This is actually kind of scary for Astrea. It almost felt that Astrea was already planning for one of these super long PvPs. A single shield battery is nice. Those force fields were crucial for Astrea, as there is a Warp Prison on both sides of the map. I wouldn't hate it if Astrea just temporarily cancels that 4th base. Even though that's uncomfortable, that's annoying, I just don't think you can ever defend it. Seems that he has agreed. He's still going to be in trouble. Battery overcharge gets popped, but Firefly with his double Immortal here, Wadi. He's just kind of steamrolling Astrea in game 1.
Yep, there is a DT that just showed up, though. If there's any hope for Astrea, it comes down to that DT. Perhaps there's not detection here at the moment. So, I mean, it can slowly push this back, but you're going to take so much damage in the process. Firefly's already done a lot, and he will back away. He's just missing his own Observer, and if he gets that, and this game is potentially looking like it's going to be done. Where is the Observer? There's one on the map.
Even without the Obs, I would still stick around a little bit. I feel like he should have just gotten on top of those last few Stalkers. And once those Stalkers are gone, everything you shoot at are probes. He's respecting, I guess, the threat of suddenly 3 DTs or 4 DTs. I don't think it would have been bad to stick around there a little bit longer, but it's already been a fantastic success for Firefly. And he's like, nah, let's just go ahead and play it safe. I'm not going to take any risk. Snipes the Ops there, that's very important. So now he's not in any danger of losing his own Observer. And I'm afraid for Astrea that a couple of Zealots and probes are not going to be good enough here. Warps in more Zealots, but even if he holds here, we have to ask ourselves the caster question, at what cost, Marty?
Yeah, the economic damage is adding up, of course. These Stalkers can still blink away from these Zealots and trade out. The last few of them should be able to live through this. He was a little busy back at home dealing with some DTs that got across the map, as Astrea will likely be able to push this back. The Prism will unsiege and will join us in the retreat, but I think there's going to be reinforcements from across the map as well, and then Astrea may have to start turning back around.
Pretty sick hold so far by Astrea, and that forward blink is actually going to be a tiny bit expensive. Now Firefly is going to have quicker +2, also finds that DT that just got warped in there, is going to get on top of that pylon. The one cool thing that Astrea has somehow managed to do during all of this is A, make sure he doesn't fall too far behind in the worker department, even though he lost so many, and B, it's sneaking a new 4th base, this time around in the center, as he's really trying to just hang in there a little bit longer with the Zealot. Sniping the Prism here would be great, but he does not have enough Stalkers.
Nope, but more Stalkers warping in. We do have so many Zealots, but they can only charge so often, and obviously as each and every Zealot falls, it becomes a little bit easier for Firefly, but the Zealots have honestly done pretty well trading out. The supplies have been gathering together, and here the CT shows up. There is going to be a cannon position, but again, how do you chew through these Zealots? You can't.
Might actually be okay for Firefly to warp in a couple of his own Zealots. I mean, there is absolutely no reason not to. Even if he would not have charge, it would be nice for your own Zealots to tank the Zealots of Astrea a little bit. As Firefly loses the Prism, he may still think that this is all completely fine, because he's like, hey, I'm a 4-base Protoss, you're a 3-base Protoss, this is okay. But he's not a 3-base Protoss. Astrea has snuck in a 4th Nexus, and this is actually starting to look like Astrea will stabilize, even if he's still behind in supply. Firefly really needs to find that 4th base, otherwise he's in danger of letting this one slip away, but he does sneak in a DT there, and that's big. Yeah,
DT over here as well. Not sure what Astrea's detection situation is right now, as these Stalkers will start a fight. No Observer, and obviously no cannon on this 3rd, it doesn't seem like, so that means we're going to lose a lot of probes, a lot of mining for the foreseeable future. And yeah, Firefly going to put himself back in the driver's seat now after Astrea was definitely starting to hold on in a very, very cool manner.
Yep, it seems that Firefly is just going to get on top of that 4th base. Astrea goes for a recall, really wants to save it. Has a battery there, but there's no pylon to power it, so that battery cannot heal up the Nexus. Firefly is going to lose a couple of Stalkers, but he grabs the Nexus. Kudos to Astrea for absolutely refusing to go down without putting up one hell of a fight. It just kind of feels like it's a mega unfair fight, as Firefly is richer, has more units, had the army supply for the vast majority of the last 2-3 minutes. This game is just getting very scrappy.
Yep, it is getting messy all across the board as we have Stalkers blinking up here to try and fight. There's that one Immortal of Astrea that can pack a bit of a punch still. No Zealots here, and they were the saving grace of some of the previous holds. Now we have Firefly just blinking forward, going to get the Immortal, chase the Stalkers. Reinforcements from Astrea have already turned around and headed back home, so looks like Firefly finally has, once again, a comfortable position.
Can we take a look at how many workers Firefly has killed? Because I feel that he's killed 36 probes, and meanwhile he has only lost a 6, and that really has made the difference here. Stalkers are going to do their thing. +3 is on the production tab as well for our Chinese Protoss, who has received a lot of props and a lot of kudos of some of the diehard community members out there, where they're like, hey, you guys are sleeping on Firefly. It's like, no, don't think anybody's sleeping on Firefly. He is good, and he can absolutely hang, but for him to get wins like this, even though he's not there yet, but he's most likely going to take the 1 lead, that is just still impressive, because Astrea is one hell of a player, and also came into this IEM Katowice very prepared, and honestly with excellent form.
Yeah, that's very true, as the Stalkers push this back into the corner of the probes. We'll have to pull one more time, so their final attempt to survive here from Astrea. So many Stalkers now. These probes are going to get massacred. A couple of Zealots do finally warp in from a Firefly as well. Why not tank a little bit, as he will continue to chase this down. He's got so many probes. He's losing a few of his own, but that's something you can worry about a bit further down the line, because quite frankly, this one, Roddy, is wrapped up and done.
Yep, kind of felt like it for a while, but Astrea's ability to always produce probes, even while being under an immense amount of pressure, and maybe Firefly having 1 or 2 tiny misclicks with the Stalkers made this one go on for a little while longer than it perhaps should have, but yeah, this really is an incredibly unfair fight. Astrea knows it. There is no point in continuing this one anymore. GG gets called. Firefly takes the 1-0 lead. Once more with a quick robo, quick War Prism, dropping a couple of adepts in the main, and kind of felt that gave him a tiny bit of a lead. But what really made the difference is he said, hey, I go for a quick robo. Immortals are fantastic. You love Stalkers, I love Stalkers, but I'm gonna fight with Stalkers and Immortals while you just fight with Stalkers. And even a battery overcharge is not necessarily going to save you there if you're Astrea.
Well, that's very true, as Firefly really controlling throughout this game, and yeah, credit to Astrea, because he held on, snuck that 4th base down, he gave himself a go of it, right? Like, he said there was a chance, there was an opportunity here, but not enough in the end.
Kind of felt that at this point this game was already over, right? Because you look at the amount of Stalkers that Firefly has here. 2 full HP Immortals. He found that Immortal was Astrea there too, but it's 1 DT. Caught, basically bought some time for Astrea, and then Firefly, I think he should have stuck around there. Because if there are no units to shoot at, you're not going to shoot at anything else other than probes. And even if you slowly but steadily lose your Stalkers, you're going to deal so much economic damage that I think it's okay. But Firefly said, nope, we're going to play it safe. We're going to run back to that Observer, and then we'll just continue attacking. A very strong first game by him. I mean, 1-1 in the group so far, 1-0 lead in the third best of 3. Wadi, this man is absolutely allowed to dream of making top 12 here at his very first big offline event on the international stage. That's mighty impressive.
I mean, mind-blowing, really, right? I said it coming into Katowice, like I think a lot of others did. Like, I think he's good. I think he got a good group for himself. But the lack of experience at this sort of level and this sort of stage can absolutely show, right? We've seen it happen so many times before, but so far, he's playing up to it. Of course, just a 1-0 lead here, a long way to go, but fantastic start. Of course, his loss in the group as well to Cyril, so he's already got one of the tougher opponents out the way.
I mean, even if he ends up losing this PvP best of 3, it's not necessarily over yet, because Firefly has peaked in some of those PvTs in the past. He took maps of Clem and no other Protoss could. So we can't even just assume that he's going to lose to Beyond, because Beyond is the bigger name and Beyond is amazing. Now, lots of reasons to get excited over that Chinese Protoss, but this man is going to try to stop that hype train while he can. Bottom left side, down 0-1 in his third best of 3 of the tournament. Manchurino Esports, Astrea.
Top right-hand corner, our blue Protoss with the 1-0 advantage, looking to send this one home. It's Firefly.
Isn't there a song about fireflies, buddy?
Yeah.
10 million fireflies?
Yeah.
In my heart, there's only one.
Just one.
It's this one.
It's on stage right now. Very fortunate we got the right one, huh?
You should rewrite that song.
That's an old song.
Not that old, is it?
Yeah, like 10 plus years easily.
Okay. Not like 20.
Not 20.
No.
Like 15 maybe.
Alright, go ahead and look it up.
You got me interested, man.
El Sayani, as we're taking a look at a very confusing screen. This actually scared the hell out of me for a split second. I thought I was drunk there, Wadi. I was like, what on earth is happening over here? Look at this.
15 years this year. Yeah.
Hey, this
what
is
gas?
trippy.
Oh, it's a good place.
Yeah. This is something that you would find in a custom game.
Yeah.
And this actually looked so trippy to me for a split second. I was like,
I know, because
I was looking at you, and then I looked back, and I'm like, I'm seeing double.
I know exactly what you mean, because I did this with ZG yesterday. I looked at her, I looked back, I was like, he's taking double gas already or something. Like, it's like, what happened?
I was like, you know, we had a Monster Energy, we had a couple of black coffees. I was like, man, I gotta slow down. Can somebody bring me a water? I see way too many mineral patches right now. All right, El Sayani. As Astrea has built a pylon forward, it does not seem like he really wants to use that second pylon. He's going to send that probe to the other side of the map. He's going to open things up with a depth. Firefly is going to open things up with a very quick robo. Way quicker than the previous game. May look similar. It's not similar, because last game the emphasis was, hey, I'm expanding after a couple of gateway units. Now he's dropping tech before he's expanding. And that means that there is a good chance he wants to go for 3-gate robo. Astrea is going Stargate, which honestly should be very good news for Astrea, especially if he scouts the robo, because then he does not have to drop the Nexus. Now, often when I say this, Protoss players are very stubborn. They build the Nexus anyway in the low ground. I'm like, why is it happening? And then they get attacked. They're like, oh, I should cancel the Nexus. I'm like, if you would have never built it, you'd be way further ahead. I don't think Astrea is going to build the Nexus early, though.
No, I'm kind of with you there as Firefly. So gonna have a little check to see what's seen, and he is going to drop a pylon down. Now he definitely can't build a Nexus, as Firefly has the money to build a Nexus.
Yep. So quick robo, and he's still going to expand. Astrea is going to scout. Who shaded first? It was Astrea. So nice block there for the people who don't really know all the tiny details of StarCraft II. Adepts can go through force fields. They can obviously not go through buildings, but they can also not go through other adept shade. Oh, that's actually a little bit of a mistake, because he moved the adept around. Now Rico has to get used, but he's actually going to lose an adept fight too. Astrea turns around and he says, all right, I'm going to pick up first blood. He's going to pick up a probe as well in the end. He does get locked in, but I don't really hate this for Astrea. Not a great scout, a little bit of lost mining time. Could have been worse. Honestly, maybe it would have been better to just go deep into the main, right, and go for as many probes as possible.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like in this sort of situation, that's like, you know, probes are like, you know, the gold mine essentially. So to try and get some of those would be amazing. Didn't really succeed on that. We do have the Oracle though from Astrea, which will come over here. Battery's not quite yet done, so this Oracle's about to feast, Roddy.
Yep, a couple of seconds is all that an Oracle needs, and Adepts don't really shoot up, so Firefly doesn't really have a whole lot of anti-air. This is an absolutely fantastic start for Astrea. That's a lot of lost mining time, -6 probes, maybe even 7, because that battery doesn't last forever and doesn't really out-heal the damage of an Oracle. Fantastic start. Firefly making all these adepts. This is something I thought he could have done in that previous game against that no wall-off setup. This time around there is a wall-off, and this game actually is a disaster for Firefly. He's down 11 workers, Wadi, and he's got no anti-air.
Yeah, no anti-air. This Oracle can activate to help against these adepts as well. Like, this is just completely fallen apart. He's not building any probes right now either. I mean, he just started up a couple, but he went a long time without building them, so his economy, after already being hurt, is not being fixed quickly. And yeah, just absolute disaster.
Yep, don't triple Oracle now. Astrea's making another one. He's so cool. This is why we all love Astrea, because even on the biggest stages, he can still have a little bit of fun. It is not very fun to call games over at minute 5, but this really does feel like it's Omega game over. Firefly doesn't even have the resources to start Blink. He has now 2 Sentries, 2 Stalkers, but it's going to be so hard for him to split up his units and also mine from the natural. So you're basically forced to only stay on 1 base saturation at the moment. I do think Astrea eventually needs to stop having fun and maybe build something else other than Oracles, but Firefly is in a world of trouble.
Yeah, he's going to try and get himself towards Blink, but again, you're just behind so many workers for so long. That really does add up. And so that will just be his problem. I mean, if you get to Blink, maybe there's some hope, maybe there's something you can play around with, but by that point, he's already just going to be so far down numbers-wise.
Yep, and Astrea is going to be able to drop so many stasis traps with all these oracles. He's now building some Void Rays, maybe not necessarily the best unit at high-level PvP, because Void Rays, of course, are good if they can stand there and fight against Stalkers, but players at the highest level will rarely just stand there with Stalkers and fight. They're going to dart back and forth, in and out, fire a full volley, and that's why Stalkers in general are considered to be better units. If you see this, if I'm Astrea, you can do 2 things. Drop a Rubber right now, or maybe drop a Forge, or indeed go non-stop regular gateway unit production. That's okay as well. Double stasis trap already getting wiped in, and it's outside of the natural, so he's gonna make life hell for Firefly. He's like, oh, you wanna run to the other side of the map? Because now he's actually attacking with a bunch of basic Stalkers. Did not really have to do this. Astrea's playing this out in a very complicated way, Wadi, but I think it's still going to be good enough.
He keeps on aggressively placing stasis wards as well. He's like, well, what are you going to do? We'll run into them. Well, the probes will, so they're going to create a little bit of a force field. The Void Ray just activated. There's not enough Stalkers nearby. Now we do have the Blink available from Firefly, but if that saves him, well, that's a miracle.
This is one of the funniest ways that I ever thought Astrea was going to close out this game. I kind of thought it was going to come down to Firefly attacking him and then realizing he's too far behind. Firefly is finding some damage with the depths on the other side of the map, but it is just not a fair fight. Astrea has mined so much more throughout this game, has all these oracles. Firefly took a serious beating, does have Blink, and is only down 7 workers, so we can somehow push back this army. And obviously Stalkers with Blink are a lot better than Stalkers without Blink, but it's a numbers game, and the numbers are just heavily in favor of Astrea.
Yep, no, this game really was just a disaster for Firefly from the start, and well, this is going to be his pretty much final stand, as these Stalkers will now work their way through the gateways. Then you're going to lose your production. You really can't stay in the game much longer than this. We've got Oracles about flying to the main, by the way. I think all 4 of them are going to make a bit of a move, so they're going to go stasis warded up and really just make sure Firefly has no recovery possible. GG.
Firefly is like, mate, are you recording a YouTube video of me? You're turning into content? Like, I'm out of here. We are not going to do this. You're not going to make 4 oracles and drop stasis traps left, right, and center. A painful game for Firefly, because it didn't have to be bad. I like how quickly he decided to expand. And it started off with him messing up his own block. He had an Adept Shade that was supposed to keep the Adepts of Astrea out. That didn't work. His tech was revealed. And then he got a tiny bit unfortunate that this was the game where he decided to go for 8 Adepts while being attacked by Oracles. That shield battery, you mentioned it, Wadi, was a few seconds late, but that is not something you can get away with on the highest level. A few seconds is a lifetime, and you lose 6 probes when you're only working with 25 probes. I mean, you don't really recover from that.
No, and he definitely didn't at all, as Astrea killing them with basic Stalkers, like you said. Maybe not the way we thought it was going to end, but Astrea's just like, man, I am this far ahead. I will do what I want.
It's been a while since I've seen the quad Oracle in high-level PvP.
Yeah, no, it's not every, especially PvP, like maybe the odd PvZ, right? But PvP?
And PvT once in a while if they want to YOLO them in the old days get on top of Cyclones. These days I don't really recommend it. You have 4 Oracles, they have 24 Cyclones, so that's not a very good idea. But In PvP, you'll rarely see it, but yeah, if there is ever a moment to bust it out, why not? If your opponent opened up with 8 adepts, adepts, of course, units that don't shoot up. Well done, we're all tied up. We expected a close series between these two. It is a close series, both of them getting a pretty convincing win on the board. I'd say that Firefly had to work a little harder for his win than Astrea, but it will all come down to Hecate. For all the marbles, is this going to be the map where Astrea is willing to risk it and go 1 gate fast expand? Or is he still not comfortable enough with it?
We'll find out very soon, as these two fight for a chance, of course, to put themselves in a great spot to potentially be looking at playoffs in tomorrow's games. Here we go to the top right-hand side, our red Protoss player from Macherino. This is Astrea.
Bottom left side of Hecate. We're going to take a look at the main base of the man making his debut on this stage. One of the 2 players that could become a Royal Rotor at the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. This is Onside Gaming's Firefly.
Who's the other player?
It was Trigger, but I guess he can't be a Royal Rotor anymore. So I guess he's the only one. Firefly that is.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Firefly with all the Royal Road hopes left on his shoulders. As we get a gateway up on either side, Simulator coming down. Astrea has continued to put the gateways at the front ever since that first game ready.
That'd be quite a story, by the way.
that really would be a story.
He's like, all right, Oliver, your win last year was pretty sick. However, here I am in the era where they say that I can't win. No, you're right. Astrea doing it one time a bit different. Maybe just trying to tell a story throughout the series. I'm not totally certain. Kind of like having the pylon and the gate. This is a weird placement, by the way, to build your pylon. But these are things that we can analyze for days. In the end of the day, it kind of comes down to the same. You either have a wall off or you don't. And you either have a pylon on the low ground or you don't. How you want to wall off on the high ground is kind of up to you.
Yep. Once we get this probe is going to get chased around, obviously scouting information early. Astrea does have 1 probe out down to the south of the map, so there's a pylon, and that's going to be the probe sticking around to try and proxy it up.
Feels like a Stargate, a very quick Stargate, but it obviously could be many things. You can always go for a gate, you can always go for a robo, but with the amount of gas that Astrea is mining, how early this is, to me it kind of feels like it's going to be a very quick Stargate. Maybe it's like, hey man, those oracles were so fantastic in game 2. I'm gonna make some more oracles because you might be weak against them? Question mark.
We'll
or it's a robo with the adept opening.
Yeah.
Robo, but it's not.
Stargate it is. Initial instincts were good, and as we do at least have Firefly building a couple Stalkers to start, so that does pose well for him. Of course, it still comes down to if the Stalkers are in position or not, if Firefly can figure out that there's something going on. A lot of the time when you open Stalkers, you do like to poke with them, right? But, yeah, I mean, it's rough if you start poking and the Oracle flies and you have no defense, so that's kind of the balancing act you have to play. Let's see what the plan is for Firefly. First 2 don't have to be there, second 2 do.
One thing that's very cool, by the way, is that last game, Astrea also went for a proxy pylon, and he didn't do anything with it, right? So if you're Firefly and you look at it, you're like, second pylon was out on the map, but you didn't actually use it. You're just trying to scare me. But there's nothing to be scared about. And here in game 3, Astrea is like, it's proxy pylon again. Don't worry. This time, the man should absolutely worry. You mentioned poking with Stalkers. That's absolutely what's happening. I said it's a close call warping in the defensive pylon. But it is good enough. That's not a fight that Firefly really wants to take. 2 Stalkers against 2 Stalkers. Might be an even trade, but I think if Astrea micros properly, he should have won. Instead, he's going to end up losing the fight. Firefly gets away with murder there. That's not a fight he's supposed to win, but he did accidentally let that pylon finish up one, and that is bad news because Oracles are about to fly in.
Yep, and Stalker's on the wrong side. Yep. And the next 2 units with sentries as well, so they are not going to help too much. So yeah, this is going to be a little bit painful. There is that Oracle coming through the bottom left, and okay, there is a battery finish in the main base at least, so that's something. A step in the right direction. Looks as though Astrea is going to bank up 2 Oracles before he commits. And
that would actually be very sick, right? If I'm Astrea right now, you just kind of keep distracting him here with the Adepts. I'm a little bit surprised that Astrea decided to let that Adept Shade finish up. Yes, there was 1 probe that he could have killed there, but now it's more likely that Firefly is going to kill his own pylon, make it easier. But here is Oracle number 2. Astrea is going to make Oracle number 3 as well. What? This is crazy. Firefly actually making a high ground battery, so he's worried about an all-out assault. That is not what's happening. What is going to happen, though, is Astrea is coming for his workers, and a bunch of probes are going to get zapped down immediately.
A little shake of the head from Firefly as he just was not in position. He was not aware of this possibility. Stalker's chasing one. Oracle goes low. 15 probes already going down. That is a deadly strike from Astrea with his own Nexus already finished up as well. And again, he made that third Oracle, so he has potential for more still.
And that's brutal. Firefly doing a lot of things right, even winning that Stalker skirmish. That makes you feel good about it. The Menacers are going to immediately grab everything he has, send it to the other side of the map. Astrea should build another battery or two now, maybe at home, or just warp in units, going to boost your gateways, because you have done more than enough economic damage, Astrea. Now it's all about surviving. Force fields could still be gnarly. This game could still get a tiny bit exciting. It looks bad for Firefly, but maybe he can make a miracle happen with a bunch of force fields.
Force fields have to be great happening on the other side of the map right now. As we do dive in, we go after the Warp and Stalker. That's not affected by a super battery that is activated immediately. A few probes start to go down as we do have the Prism showing up from Firefly as well, so some extra micro available from there. He force fields, but the super battery is still going. Now he can turn onto these Stalkers more easily, but the pros pulling out, of course, just going to tank nicely. He is going to get through another Stalker soon. I mean, he's going to start getting enough damage, Roddy.
And he has Warp Prism micro potential, so he can actually dodge these Stalker shots the way that he's currently dodging them, and he has actually not lost too many units yet. And don't forget that Astrea's safety Void Ray is being built in the bottom side of the map. Another force field goes down. The shield batteries are not able to keep these Stalkers alive, but Firefly needs so much more. He doesn't need to kill a couple of Stalkers. He needs to kill everything as he's down to 0 workers. The Void Ray is here, and the Oracles are here, and Astrea can pull all the probes, and a full probe surround is going to be good enough for the man from Matcherino Esports. The American Protoss is going to get the job done here. Firefly down to 0 workers and soon down to 0 supply. GG gets called. Astrea gets an incredibly important PvP victory here in this group.
Very important as far